Hello and welcome to another episode of Roofs by Gary Whillock. I am Gary Whillock, but today we're not going to be talking much about roofs, except for we are going to talk about the decks that we're installing a roof membrane to make it waterproof. We're going to talk a lot about that, and really it's almost talking about the decks and the exterior of the house. Behind me there's a little bit of work. I think I've got 3 or 4 guys here today trying to get all the damage from the rotted wood that has occurred on this house. Now this house is actually a very large house, and it may be hard to grasp because I am so far away from it right now. Fact is, I'm out by Lake Austin, and you can actually see this is actually a channelway that goes right to the lake just on the other side of the homes over there. You see somebody going by now. But what's going on in the house and what we're involved in is getting this house watertight. And the house never has been really watertight. There's been a lot of bad practices, and it's even getting worse as I see what's going on around the Austin area. I see people installing windows that don't know what they're doing, installing doors, windows, no window pans, no door pans, not properly installing flashing, trying to use the zip system improperly, not using and going by the manufacturer specs. All those things create problems. And on a house like this, those problems add up to not tens, but hundreds of thousands of dollars of repairs. Unbelievable what it takes to repair a house, a mammoth house that's an estate home like this. The actual size of this is unknown to me, but I know it's 3.5 stories. Plus you see the pool level down below that. So there's a lot of things. Here are the guys hollering up there now. Guess they're just talking to each other. Yeah, what they're working on is getting the stucco off the areas where the wood has to be replaced. Major beams along this side and this side, plus the inside corners of both sides. One of the things that I've always found that you want to do, and we're going to take a tour of the work going on. One of the things that, if you look at my very basic how-to videos, one of them that I do is how to install a chimney cap, or a chimney crown as they used to call them, on a chimney so the drips away from the masonry. What that does is it protects the masonry, and it helps that masonry last a lot longer. It doesn't hurt it to get wet occasionally, but when you have water running on it constantly from every drizzle like this is a perfect day to talk about this because it's drizzling like a mist right now. It's a little more than a fog for sure because it is falling down, hitting me across the forehead. If I get shiny there, that's why. But you want to make sure that you build a house that gets water free. Now we did the roof on this. This is a standing seam metal roof. You can see it's got an incredible galvanized roof on this big dome up here, and then it's got a Kynar coated dark bronze metal on the rest of the roof, and it's a vented system. I've done a video on that. We may re-talk about that a little bit, but we're not here to do that today. What we're talking about is getting it watertight. Once the roof is watertight, there's so many other areas. Now on this particular house, it's almost 3,000 square feet of exterior decks, and yet you can hardly tell it by looking at the house because the house is so large. Now right here I'd like to inject a photo of what we are designing towards and moving towards on making this wonderful rotunda area, the 3-story high area there, what that's going to look like with these awnings. And I think this is really going to be warm. Now this is one of the designer's hand sketch of the elevation from about where I'm standing right here, actually a little bit further over, so it's a little more straight on. So you kind of get an idea of what we're headed towards with this, and with those awnings coming off of and over each one of these doors and large windows, and they are gigantic. This is almost commercial sized doors and windows. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Now I don't know what they're going to do to cover up this swimming pool open deck area down here. That has not been really thought through yet. The owner is very involved. There's a couple of designers working with us, project manager for the contractor, and of course us. We do exteriors. My guys are doing the stucco here. This is a very large stucco job, 6 or 7 guys. And when we started, of course, then there was all the backing up to do once we opened it up, realized how much rotting, and that's what we're talking about, how to avoid that rotting from going on. So yeah, it's going to be a project, just the stucco. Looks like it's going to be another 2 months of work for 7 guys, 8 guys on a regular basis just to get that done. And we're going to be working starting next week of trying to get the decks underway. Now let's go up on top and I'll show you what we're talking about. That this was set up to create a lot of work, and of course it had a lot of failure, but it's going to be a lot more work to do it the second time around than it would have been the first time around, and there would not have been failure of the construction part, the structural part, and that's what you always want to prevent. Let's go take a look, see what I mean. Okay, now what you're looking at here are samples of some of the products that I've proposed for this project, and I guess the project manager, maybe the designers and the owner have been looking at them out here, but this is actually a porcelain. Now porcelain is first name that we called it in the U.S. and the old America is China, fine China, because the first porcelain that this country has ever seen came from China, and that's actually what this is. But you notice it's got a real serious thickness to it, and it's one of the most enduring products that you can install outside for sure, probably a 50-year product. Now we're looking at this deck here, and you see we're trying to keep it dry, but there's had to be a lot of deck torn out right in this area because there was a built-in gutter. Built-in gutters, you know, are difficult. They're very high maintenance and very costly to repair and replace. Most of them in the Central Texas area are gone now. I've seen and worked on several in the last 15 years, 20 years, but they're about gone. This is a situation where the deck slopes from the house out to this, and then it slopes the other way, so the water would actually come back in and go into the gutters. Unfortunately, there's been leaking and now rotting. There's actually a beam that's been replaced underneath here, 2 beams, and the same thing on the other side. Now, again, this is nearly 3,000 square feet of deck, and it's hard to imagine that just from this one area here. But if you look at that, you start seeing that this is a pretty large area. That's a large area there, and it goes around much further on the other side. We're going to go around there in a little bit. But let's talk about waterproofing. When you've got areas like this, you've got posts, very difficult to deal with this, but we have come up, I've engineered a way for us to be able to seal that post and have a flashing that's going to flash the windows, that's going to trap water from being able to go in the windows, and then it's going to be caulked on top of that just as an additional precaution and also to make it look better. That's actually going to be stainless steel across there. Then the deck's going to go up to that 2.5 inches high, and so you'll see about 3 inches of stainless steel all along that area. Now we've got an area here where we've got more stucco. This stucco column was built on top of the EPDM roofing that is down here, and this is why we're involved, is we've got to make this watertight. So what we're going to be doing is much like we did on the roof above. So we're going to be tearing into the stucco all around where the stucco is, all around where the stucco is, all those locations. And if you look at this, there's quite a bit back in the corner here, and then a little column out there, and then you've got the stucco here, and this is going to be stucco across where the black paper is now. You can probably see the stucco lath on there now, and then it goes all around this rotunda area. We've also got a seal underneath the door. You cannot skip this. In fact, they would have been better off had they installed a flashing. Of course, they're not paying for it now, but it's always a discount on the price of the house. If you don't build it right, it's going to cost you down the road. What our customers have found, that on homes like this, doing it right and being able to sell it for millions more is a much better deal than trying to save the money. And that's really what it amounts to. Now we're walking around that rotunda, and you can see that deck behind me, and it's just a continuation. And the decks are really super important, because if you look out, even though there's incredible windows to look out of the home, this deck is going to be used a lot. This is really a nice party house. You want to invite people here as much as you can, because people will love to come here, look out over the lake and those beautiful homes. And of course the house is all glass, all windows when you think about it. And all across here, from every part of the house upstairs, you get a view. From the next level, you get a view, and some from the level below. And so it just goes on, and all this stucco. Now you see all these columns, or these posts, I don't know really what you call them, but these walls that come out. This was actually nice looking design, and when you looked at the picture earlier, you saw that it really ties together well. It dresses it up real nice. But counting all these, there are over 105 inside and outside corners. These are all going to be made out of copper, going to be soldered so there's no possibility of leak, and eliminate this kind of leaking. Now I'm on the other side, walking back towards the rotunda area, and you see this deck is much longer, but it's built the same way. The same window issue on the bottom, no pans there, so we're creating a retrofit pan to go under that window out of stainless steel, and it's going to go behind the post, and then there's going to be a pitch pan around each one of those posts. Pitch pan is just a way of sealing it, knowing you have it sealed. But the pitch pan is going to be below the surface of the actual deck. Now that decking material, the porcelain that I was showing you a little bit ago, is going to be installed on, it's going to be elevated off of the actual PVC deck. PVC, it's 80 mil PVC. We want it to be very, very substantial. PVC outwears, outlasts TPO. So we're going to be using that for the actual waterproofing membrane. And then there's going to be pedestals installed over that hold the tile at every corner. It's important to use a product that's really rigid and is tested for that. That's why the porcelain is so perfect for that. If you went with stone, and there's no guarantee that it would even last. You're going to have broken stones because not every stone's the same. But instead of going with a 5/8 inch porcelain product, you'd have to go with a 2-inch thick stone, even if it's granite that has just been cut out of the hillside, to be able to assure that it's going to make that, and that's just too heavy, and in this case too thick. Where we've got these doors, like right behind me here, you can see this door is only 2 1/4 or 2 3/8 inches up from the floor anyway, so that just wouldn't work. So what we're doing is we're ironing out all the bugs. Our proposal is in. They're looking at the type of material that they're going to use. The deck PVC has already been decided, and I think they've accepted all the flashing details, including the stainless steel flashing here, the copper around all the posts, and then we're going to be using stainless steel out on the edge, along with a PVC coated drip edge that is going to be hidden behind a dummy fascia, and is let the water run off without actually seeing the edge of that, and then there's going to be a gutter actually attached to that. So that's what we have planned, and that's where I spend a lot of my time, in the planning stages, designing stages, creating stages, engineering stage. And oh man, I have to give you a headache sometimes, because some of these details could have been avoided and could have been better prepared for, but a lot of times people don't build a house with thinking it's going to last. But when you have an area like this, and you're literally, I'm right now from the ground, I'm 5 or 6 stories from the ground at this house. Now granted, the first story, maybe story and a half, is the pool coming up, and then there's another landing, and then the house. So the nice part about it is when you're up here, and of course this is a very rainy day, but when you're up here in the summertime and you see that you can see the lake out there, which is hardly visible from the foggy weather today, it's an incredible place, and it is going to be a joy for the owners to live in. The owner has a very successful business. He started in 2006 and has prospered very well. And we love to see that, especially in the Austin area. And we're getting a lot of that in Austin. So I guess we're going to be seeing a lot more homes like this. But you can see the standing seam roof a little bit behind me. That is a roof we've installed a couple of months ago. I guess we finished that. And And of course, here we are back out here working with them on the waterproofing of the decks and the walls and helping them make a watertight house. So this will last a lifetime for this owner, generations for his family if they decide to keep it, or at least this product will be around for a long time. Another thing about the porcelain deck surface that's on pedestals is you can repair something. If something happens to the deck, the PVC, you can take those up without it destroying the rest of it and repair that problem and reinstall the same porcelain. And it, like a roof that we did last couple of weeks ago, it was a Ludowici clay tile roof, and we actually did the complete exterior of that home in new stucco. We did all the repairs on the roof. The same Ludowici tile is reinstalled, repaired, flashing taken care of. And that tile was so dirty, it was almost black in some areas of the house. That tile cleaned up almost like new. Same thing with this porcelain. It's not going to change in 25, 30 years. It's going to look just like it does today, as long as somebody doesn't break a piece or something. And the nice part is it is manufactured, so it could be replaced with an exact matching piece, unlike stone that's going to change over the years. So this is what we do. This is the exterior part of our work, and we're going to be doing more and more of this in the very near future. So not only are you going to see roofs, but you're going to see a lot of exteriors. This is deck that I wanted to show you. We're going to be working on this for several weeks to get this all done, and we're going to be bringing you parts and pieces of that as it goes. This is Gary. You have a great week. Until next week.